Right, yeah, it's clearly not a good time for the UK economy, and Europe is going to be one of the hardest hit regions. But I do think that within Europe, the UK, along with Germany, are going to be two of the countries that are going to find the recovery easiest. Now, in the case of the UK, though, it's also got the flip side where I think the depth of the recession is going to be one of the deepest in Europe. So it's a bit of give and take with the UK, a very deep recession, but it will be better placed to leverage that recovery. And yes, I think that is because of the greater policy flexibility that the UK has. Partly that is monetary policy. Obviously, it's got its own central bank, unlike many other countries in Europe that are under the ECB. But also with Brexit happening, officially already, but then in practice on the 31st of December this year, that's going to give the UK authorities more fiscal flexibility as well from next year. And I think at this point, a hard Brexit is looking more likely than not, given that supply chains and movements of people and goods are already extremely disrupted or at a virtual standstill between the UK and the rest of Europe already. So that's Brexit is now, in a sense, a second-tier issue, even though it is going to be as impactful as we were talking about it last year.
Simon, I'm a little bit surprised to hear you say that, though, because do you not expect there'll be a little bit more of a harmonious mood, perhaps, between the UK and the European side after all this? And the last thing they want to do is have a negative blow from a hard Brexit.
The timetable to get negotiations done by the end of the year was already extremely tight, and even before coronavirus came along, it was very hard to see a proper trade deal coming into place. Now, I think the chances of that are virtually zero. Policymakers are extremely distracted. That's both politicians, it's also the public servants working in government. There is just no focus on the trade negotiations to the extent that would be necessary to get a proper deal by the end of the year. So I think there'll be no trade deal at the end of the year. So then we get down to either an extension of the deadline again or a hard Brexit. Now, the government has legislated against an extension. Of course, we've had that before, and we know that there are potentially ways around it. But I think that the Johnson government is going to be a lot more committed to a hard Brexit than the May government was. And so I do expect that hard Brexit to happen. And think about it, we're sitting here anyway where there's no movement of people and no movement of goods or supply and big supply chain disruptions between the countries. Well, trading on WTO terms, if you're sitting from where we are now, actually feels like a bit of an improvement. I can't see the UK government going for an extension in these conditions.